So, you know, it's a moot point. It's how you regulate things and whether or not this $1 trillion we spent on the war on drugs, really since the early 1970s, the modern-day war on drugs started with Richard Nixon, and it's a catastrophe, just as prohibition of alcohol was a catastrophe. So, yes, there are regulations for children and the way the states want to handle it.
I mean, it's not just pot that they might have.
If pot smokers are criminals, then 42% of America's criminals, according to the CDC, 42% of America has tried marijuana. So they're not criminals. We need to reclassify these people.
So this DVD is all about trying to...
I think the way to answer that is we're 200 years old, our country is, and we've had bad policy in the past. We didn't allow women to vote at one time, bad policy. We had alcohol prohibition, bad policy. We had slavery, where if a slave escaped, they were subject to being beaten. And this is no different. The war on drugs, especially marijuana, is a bad policy.
Barry has a question for you. Go ahead, Barry.
You know, Barry, you remind me more of what NAMBLA does with sex offenders. NAMBLA teaches...
Marijuana was made illegal in 1937 after former Assistant Alcohol Prohibition Commissioner Harry Anslinger, often labeled the father of the war on drugs, took over the newly formed Federal Bureau of Narcotics, later known as the DEA. Anslinger says, there are 100,000 total marijuana smokers in the U.S., and most are Negroes, Hispanics, Filipinos, and entertainers. Their satanic music, jazz, and swing result from marijuana use. This marijuana causes white women to seek sexual relations with Negroes, entertainers, and others. The primary reason to outlaw marijuana is its effect on the degenerate races. He continues, marijuana is an addictive drug which produces in its users insanity, criminality, and death. Racial and ignorant statements were made by the government of yesterday, and the unjust laws created from these words are being enforced by the government of today. Some have said our prisons are comparable to country clubs. I'm here to tell you that behind the walls of these so-called country clubs lies the worst spirit of depression ever imagined. Behind the walls of these country clubs, our daughters are suffering the indignity of being strip-searched on a daily basis. Our fathers have no privacy during shower or toilet time. Our friends and family are subject to constant abuse from certain prison guards that belong in prison themselves. Our sons are in constant fear of being shanked or even raped. Let me announce to you today that these locations housing our citizens are not country clubs, but dungeons. And they may be the place for the violent predators of this land. But they are absolutely and positively not the place for the docile marijuana users of this nation. Stand to your feet. Pot smokers do not belong in jail. The conscience of our nation is saying, stop these unreasonable arrests. The conscience of our nation is saying, let us be free. The conscience of our nation is saying, release our nonviolent prisoners of war and allow them to return to their families. Let's re-examine our unjustified drug laws. Because the criminal side effects of going to jail and prison are worse than the side effects of the drug themselves. It's not just a college student catching a pot case. It's not just the banker losing his job because he peed dirty for marijuana. That's not what this is about. 750,000 people per year have their lives ruined because they're in possession of a plant.